There are good teams and bad teams in every sport. More specifically, there are good seasons and bad seasons from teams in every sport. Whether they are historically good or historically bad, some seasons help the franchise with credibility, while conversely, some lose credibility. Starting with the 1899 Cleveland Spiders in MLB who went 20 and 134, there have been teams that do not even look like they belong in the same league with other professional teams. Luckily, there will almost always be bad teams, near and unhistorically bad, at least once every 5 or so years in each given sport. Today, we will look at the 10 worst professional sports seasons since 2000. Win percentage should not be the only thing looked at, otherwise, we know who the top two are in the 2008 Lions and the 2017 Browns. While certainly making this list, there have to be other things looked at as well. So let's take a look at the top 10 worst seasons in the four major sports since 2000. I'm Nick Dwyer, here with the 10th inning. If you liked what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe. Going to number 10, we go to the NBA in 2015-2016 with the Philadelphia 76ers going 10 and 72. A team led by rookie Jahlil Okafor and scoring at 17.5 points per game, the 76ers had nothing going for them outside of the thought of a bright future. Ranking 29th in points per game at 97.4, they sat 5 points under the league average while allowing the second most points at 107.6. They shot .431 from the field, 19 points under league average for a 95 field goal plus and .339 from deep, 15 points beneath the average for a 96 3-point plus. Sitting at a minus 10.2 net points, the 76ers' biggest issue was that they were an extremely young team, having only one player with 10 plus years of experience and 3 players with 5 or more. Losing 18 games before they even won one, the 76ers never mustered back-to-back wins, with their best stretch being 3 out of 6. Definitely not the worst ever, the 76ers are one of the worst records and win percentages in NBA history, but being so young helps them out, only ranking number 10. Going to number 9, we stay with the NBA in 2009-2010 with the New Jersey Nets going 12 and 70. A team with a better record than the 76ers, the Nets actually did everything worse than Philadelphia, but they found a way to win more, ranking them only slightly worse. Scoring 92.4 points per game, ranking last in the league and 8 fewer than average, they allowed 101.5, 17th in the league, for a net average of minus 9.1 points. A team who could play defense somewhat well, they did not know how to score. Brook Lopez and Devin Harris were the bright spots of the team, but also their only offense. They shot .429 from the field, 32 points under league average for a 93 field goal plus, and .318 from deep, 37 points beneath the average for a 93-point plus. They won back-to-back games one time during the season, and their longest losing streak was 18 games to start the season. A better record, this team was more experienced than the 76ers, and still this bad. That is why they ranked so poorly. Switching sports, we go to the NHL in number 8, our only NHL team. In 2023-24, the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks went 19, 54, and 9 for 47 points. They won a league worst 19 games, which is the worst of the post-2000 in a full season in the NHL. A minus 146 goal differential was seen, easily the worst in the league. Their defense was abysmal, allowing 3.98 goals per game. The only thing that helps them out a little bit is that they only ranked 5 points worse than the second worst team in the league, meaning the league disparity was there compared to the other worst teams, as 3 teams had fewer than 60 points and 4 had fewer than 70. Only one player in Fabian Zetterlund had more than 20 goals, and this team could not score or defend, posting the second worst goals per game at 2.2. Nothing about this team was good, and the reason they are on there as opposed to the Red Wings is because they had a full season, where the Red Wings did not. As of now, the Sharks are the worst team of the century, but only for the century. They are far away from being the worst in NHL history. Going to Major League Baseball at number 7, we have the 2024 White Sox going 41 and 121. The worst record of the century for MLB, the White Sox had nothing going for them all season. One All-Star in Garrett Crochet didn't even really have an All-Star season, but someone needed to be chosen. In fact, their pitching was the good part of the team. Though they had a 4.67 ERA and an 89 ERA+, 2 teams were worse in ERA, the Marlins and the Rockies, and 2 teams were worse in ERA+, the Rockies and the Rangers. Part of why they allowed so many runs was due to their defense, which was putrid. A combined minus 91 defensive run save did not help causes when it came to allowing runs. Then on the offensive end, they had the fewest runs in the league at 507, 97 fewer than the 29th ranked team. A league worst 221 average and 618 OPS came to go with a 76 OPS plus. A minus 306 run differential came for the season, easily the worst on the year, 59 worse than the next team. Nothing Chicago did on the season worked, and though their record shows that they are the worst, there were still other teams worse than them. One of them being number 6, the 2003 Tigers, who went 43 and 119. The original bad team of the century in all MLB, the Tigers were not just bad, they were historically bad up to that point. The 6th worst win percentage of any team since 1900, they are now tied for 7th. A 675 OPS and 83 OPS plus came, the worst in the American League, and their DH in Dimitri Young was the only bright spot in the lineup. For as bad as their lineup was, their rotation was somehow even worse, sporting a 5.3 ERA, second worst in the league, and good for an 81 ERA plus, worst in MLB. The best thing they had going for them was their defense, which still wasn't good, but they ranked 26th in the league with minus 63 defensive runs saved. A better offense than the White Sox, the pitching and defense were so bad, and with that came the bad record. Though they did have a better record than the White Sox, they ranked worse due to the fact they had a worse run differential in a lower scoring era, worse combined OPS plus, and ERA plus, ranking them as one of the worst teams of the century and a top 3 worst MLB team. Going to the NFL, at number 5, there's a bit of a controversial one since they went winless. The 2017 Browns going 0-16. Coming off a draft where they got Myles Garrett first overall after going 1-15, the Browns were somehow worse. This was not evident per se in their yardage per game, gaining 308.9 yards per game, 24th in the league, or allowing 328.1 yards per game, which ranked 14th in the league. It wasn't even totally evident in their points, though they only sat at 14.7 points per game, which was worse in the league, and allowed 25.6 per game, 31st in the league. While these numbers were not good, these were not the kickers that made them bad. The kicker was turnovers, which sat at a league worst 41 to go with a league worst 13 which were forced. A minus 27 turnover differential is the worst in the 21st century and a large reason as to why they lost all of their games. 6 one-score losses and 4 by 3 points, the Browns seemingly found a new way to lose every game. Possibly the worst 2-year stretch of all time, going 1-31, the 2017 version will never beat the original 0-16 team in Detroit, and they're not even the second worst team of the century in the league, though their record says otherwise. That would be the number 4 team, the 2009 Rams, who went 1-15. The Rams were just as bad as the Browns, if not worse, and not much can be said other than that. Their only win was against the winless Lions from 2008, winning by 7. Otherwise, the Rams were out of contention for many of their games. Surprisingly, though, they had one-score games in 6 of their 15 losses, but they also failed to reach double-digit points in 7 of their 16 games, 10 of which they failed to score over 13. Averaging a league-worst 10.9 points per game, they allowed a 31st ranking 27.3 points for the season, both worse than Cleveland. Steven Jackson was the only bright spot on their offense, rushing for 1,416 yards, and otherwise this was a rough team. A 27th ranked 33 turnovers and 29th ranked 20 turnovers forced did not help their cause when it came to winning. Though they won one game which was better than Cleveland, this was just a bad team where turnovers were not the reason they were bad. 10.9 points per game is the 3rd worst mark of any team this century, and their lack of offense to go with no defense is the reason they rank as one of the worst teams of the century. Now we're in our top 3. Starting with number 3, we have the most recent team on this list, the 2025 Colorado Rockies. Going 43 and 119, the 2025 Rockies were bad. Playing a majority of the games at Coors Field, offense and runs will be inflated, which helps offense but hurts pitching. But the Rockies were so bad at pitching, a better offense didn't even help. Their 5.97 ERA is the worst in the century and 9th worst of all time, as well as an 81 ERA+. A 679 OPS came, 27th in the league, but due to playing in Coors, that came with an 80 OPS+, worst in the league. A minus 424 run differential, the Rockies were hardly ever in games. Starting 7-33, they got better under a new manager after firing their first, but they were still not good. The new manager helped lead the team to not the worst win percentage of the century. Though teams have had worse records, this Rockies team is the worst MLB team and one of the worst teams of this century. Switching gears to the NBA for number 2, it is the only non-full season team on this list from 2011-2012 in the strike-shortened season, the Charlotte Bobcats, going 7-59. The Bobcats had virtually nothing going for them all season. A mix of a young and old team, Corey Maggette and Gerald Henderson were the leading scorers at 15 and 15.1 points per game. They were bad offensively, averaging 87 points, 9.3 points worse than the league average, while allowing 100.9 points. This brought a net of minus 13.9 points, the worst post-2000 and second worst all time. They shot .414 from the field, 34 points under league average for a 92 field goal plus and 295 from deep, 54 points beneath the average for an 85 three-point plus. They won their first game of the season, and it was the final time they were over 500 for the entire year. They also ended the season on a 23-game losing streak, outdoing their 16-game losing streak from mid-January to mid-February. Potentially having more wins if it was a full season, the shortened season gave them a 106 win percentage, the worst all time in the NBA. Nothing Charlotte did was good, and for good reason. They are the worst NBA team and one of the worst teams overall in this century and all time. But that leads us to number one, and most people could have guessed it by now. It is the original winless 0-16 2008 Detroit Lions. Outside of the 2003 Tigers in baseball, the Lions were the original bad team of the century in sports and for Detroit. Creating history as the first fully defeated team in NFL history, they were bad all around and had no bright spots outside of young wide receiver Calvin Johnson. Johnson had 1,331 receiving yards and a league best 12 touchdowns, but that's where the good ended. Ranking 27th in the league with 16.8 points per game, they allowed the most points and yards per game at 32.3 points and 404.4 yards. The points are the worst of any 21st century team. Turning the ball over 29 times while forcing 20, turnovers were not what made this team bad, they were just bad. Most notably during the season was QB Dan Orlovsky running out of the end zone for a safety, trying to evade a sack, in what turned out to be the deciding 2 points in a loss. That basically summed up the season for Detroit. Playing in only 5 one-score games over the course of the year, and one that was decided by 3 or fewer, they rotated between 3 quarterbacks hoping for a different result, none of which came. The Lions were the original bad team of the century, and it will be hard for a team to ever outdo them, earning them and most likely keeping them at the top spot for years to come. So there you go. That is the list of the top 10 worst sports teams of this century out of the major 4 sports. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Let me know down in the comments section, and thank you all for listening.